So welcome everybody to our annual celebration of collaborators and our wonderful creativity in community. So to kick us off tonight, I wanted to just highlight one of the key collaborations that we've had in Collaborators this year, which was the brainchild of a number of people that you can see on the screen, most notably Swati Chu and Barbara Gorner. So this collaboration was a short docu, and it was called The Dark Horse of Suffragettes, eventually was the name that was landed. To kick us off, let's start with you, Swati, just to talk us through how it came about and where it all began.
Thanks, Jenny, for starting off with our collaboration. It was, it was just completely serendipitous. In fact, I would have loved if Nina was there as well, because she was the one. Actually, she's trying to join. She's just messaging me. She's facing some issues with the link. She's trying to join. That's fine. Whenever she joins, she can talk about it. So actually, it started off with Nina approaching me and saying that why don't we create something for International Women's Day. So this happened in February this year, and or late Jan, I think. And the International Women's Day was on 8th of March. And so we were just brainstorming what should we do. And, then she came up with this idea that why don't we do something related to lockdown stories where, people had to break lockdown rules to do something for a good cause. So breaking the rules, but for a good cause. So it seemed like a good idea. And in fact, we sent out feelers and we invited people to share their stories with us, interesting lockdown stories. So we did get around 5 to 6 stories. So we posted a lot of, posts on social media that we are looking for lockdown stories. And then one fine day, we got a story from Barbara. Barbara reached out to Nina, I think, through Women's in Films and Television, which she's part of. Both of them are, she's a member, and Nina works for WFT. And, Barbara told us this interesting story, and we just kept all the stories aside, and we just, focused on this one story. And I was like, we have to do this. The story itself was so powerful, and, thought this is something which needs to be told to the world. And, it would be great if I let Barbara tell the story, how, how did she share this, and how did she think of, getting to this documentary. And meanwhile, I'll check with Nina if she's able to join. So Barbara.
I just forwarded her the link, so hopefully she'll join in a sec. Can't hear you, Barbara.
Barbara, you're on mute.
Basically, I saw the Women in Film and TV request for stories. That's why. And I thought, well, I'll put this in because it's important to me politically, because I've always made films with a women's angle and a political edge. And that's important to me. And I thought this would be a great way of getting the story about Dorset Hall out. And then Nina came back to me and said, well, we're not doing your story as part of a 2-minute, but I've reached out to Swati, and I think we should all work on something much bigger and get the story out there. Because to me, Dorset Hall is important, not just because the building was falling down, but because it's the home of a leading suffragette who was never really recognised, as a lot of these women weren't. So it was a story of setting out to save not just a Grade 2 listed building, which had been allowed to fall into dereliction. It was raining through the roof and so on, but also, if you like, to get this woman, Rose Lamartine Yates' name on the map. And from there, it grew like topsy, because I was throwing other ideas about, because I actually own the sash that Emily Wilding Davison, that you and Nina came to see in Parliament in Westminster. And I said, we can develop this story. And that's what we did as we went along. We developed the story and made it a little bit bigger than Dorset Hall. And where we are now with it, obviously, I'm amazed it's got these awards for a short film. But the other thing I just want to fill everybody in, is, I was telling Jennifer earlier, is that I've been asking questions through a member of the House of Lords, Tim Clement Jones, to Department of Culture, Media, and helping them find their way to recognising the need and the importance of saving buildings that were important to the women's movement. And we've got some push on that. And I've basically been drafting the questions, because that's what I used to do some of the time in Westminster, to draft pieces and write speeches, that type of thing. So I'm used to the drafting. So I helped him out, and he's sponsored, and we're getting quite a lot of traction behind this now. And we've also, today, we've got somebody else on board who, I think he's an architect, and we just reached out to him. So, from what we've done, has actually grown legs. And I think that's quite interesting. From a tiny little idea in women in film and TV, not only has it gone international, but I think we're going to make the government take some notice. Well, we are making the government take notice, which is quite good.
That's absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it's really nice when you can actually see that it's making a tangible difference, and you're actually pushing something along that is a very important cause. So Swati, can you talk us through how you approached applying for various awards and festivals? Because as Barbara says, it's had a lot of selections, and it's also won multiple awards so far. So congratulations to all, but are there any sort of special secrets or top tips that you've got on submitting to festivals?
We don't have any secrets as such. I feel it's a very intuitive process for me now. Probably now it has become, with having worked, reached out to so many festivals, but keeping the spirit of the documentary. We deliberately chose those festivals, first of all, which focused on documentaries. And second, powerful women's stories. This is something which was those were the key things to keep in mind. And some of the festivals I had already sent a couple of my films earlier, and I knew about the festival, that what kind of films do they select, and what. Would we have a chance over there? So it was a little bit of strategizing there, but rest, and I think it is something we didn't focus on UK alone. We wanted, this to be to reach as many countries as possible. So deliberately we sent to different countries. So it was both, Nina and me. We were constantly. Pushing off ideas. Okay, let's send to this festival. We had a shared Google sheet on the Google Drive, and all three of us had the links, and we used to keep saying send here. So we maintained a proper spreadsheet. This is the deadline. This is the date. This is the screening date if selected. So all of this was done, and a lot of it was on this deadline is approaching, that deadline is approaching. Yeah.
But it's impressive, because it's been across quite a few continents, hasn't it?
6 countries.
Yeah. No, it's really impressive.
And some of them are really prestigious. The one in India, it is the topmost Dada Saib Phalke Award.
Wow.
It is the festival is yet to happen. It will happen in Feb, but that selection itself is very prestigious. And apart from that, we just won across the world. We won at New Jersey Film Awards, and then there was one award at Portugal, and the recent one. Then we got an award from Romania for Special Jury Award. And yeah, so it's all around.
It's brilliant. So what's next? Do we think with the Dark Horse of Suffragettes?
And next, I think even Barbara was trying to get it streamed on a TV channel. So I think we approached that, and when I'm trying to reach a couple of distributors, and let's see if we can get it streamed somewhere.
What would be good is to make a bigger movie out of it, if maybe a bigger producer could pick it up.
Mm.
You see, Rose herself was quite interesting. It doesn't come out in the short documentary, but I've obviously did a lot of research on her, and I think she was bipolar, because she kept, and I think with the focus these days on mental health, it would make an interesting documentary. She was married at 23 to a friend of her father's, who was already in his early 60s, a huge age gap.
Yeah.
And kind of weird when he was already a friend of her father's and widowed and had known her since she was a baby.
Yeah.
And during her life, it was documented that she kept, in those days, they would say bad with your nerves. So she kept having breakdowns and being sent off to Cornwall and France and other places to recover. And I thought her life story itself, managing to achieve so much with having mental health issues, would be a really good movie. I mean, I haven't done any writing, but I think it would have legs in development to actually have a look at that. Also, she was a good friend of Emily Wilding Davison, which most people don't know. She was at university with her.
Mm.
And she probably gave her the sash that Nina and Swati have seen, and you've seen in Westminster. It was likely picked up from Dorset Hall. So I think it's a really important short film because of the elements that have been brought out.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think we've just touched the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more to this story.
I think so.
Yeah, definitely. And
I think the most heartwarming thing of this story was, we got a lot of collaborators in there. We got Paul, who's a collaborator. We got Jenny doing the job she does over here in the documentary, interviewing, which she does brilliantly.
It was a lot of fun. It really was. And apart from Paul, I think we were mostly female. No offense to the males in the room, but it's quite rare for something to be completely female. So I think we did pretty well there. So congratulations to everybody involved. Does anybody have any questions at all for Swati or Barbara about the Dark Horse of Suffragettes, or how they went about a collaboration? If you're interested in a collaboration and you haven't done one before, then feel free to ask some questions. Not to put anybody on the spot at all.
Don't know who's online.
I was wondering, how do you allocate who does what in terms of jobs? Because I just think that'll be an interesting one for me. Do you say that you're doing this, or is there any bleeding into who's producing, who's writing, and who's directing?
the idea of co-directing was there from the beginning. That was the first thing we started off, because Nina is a director, I'm a director. And Nina had made a couple of short films before. I've made around 15 short films. So, we both were co-directing. That's what we began with. And for me, it was my first project co-directing. I've never co-directed. I've always been a sole director, individually directing on all my projects. So that was something new for me. So then apart from that, then we thought, if we wanted to keep it very low budget. And in fact, that is how we did it also, because, we didn't want to have too many dependencies. So Nina and me were co-producers to begin with. And then we talked to Barbara, and Barbara also wanted to be a co-producer. And she did a lot of help with the research, getting the shoot done in Westminster, getting the rest of the shoot done in her house. So yeah, all three of us were co-producers. We kept it very indie, rain dance way, as I would say it, completely indie, low budget, trying to get all the resources within, not paying wonderful people like Jenny, who are just coming and helping us out. So yeah, that is how, and it was a very lean crew, 5-6 people. So, we were doing multiple jobs together. So yeah, that's it. And we got in fact, even the, cinematographer, Paul, he was doing both sound and cinematography. So, and he got an assistant with him. So that's how you do indie films. You keep the budget low, though. The quality. You don't get that highest quality in terms of, if you have a big crew and a big production house and financing backing you. But then, we just wanted to make it, and that was important. We didn't want to, keep it on the whole. Just go ahead with whatever resources we have. And yeah, I think it turned out good.
I think we were led by the story, I would say, because you see, what I was saying about Rose a few minutes ago is we didn't know, and I didn't know, the connection with Emily Wilding Davison, who is really the iconic figure of the women's movement, certainly in the UK. And sort of Rose kind of led us along, and we were picking up other things and talking about them and discovering other things as we were working together. And I think that's why it worked very well, because we found new elements as we were working, and then we just decided whether to use them or not. So we were quite flexible. It wasn't really rigid, was it? At all. None of it was scripted.
No,
it was, yeah. So basically, I think in an indie film, flexibility is key. So if some new information comes along, because I haven't made a small indie film since 2003, which is a long time, because I've actually made, I've produced sort of, 1.5 hour feature films, co-produced, 2 and Channel 4 with Claire Balding before, an hour-long documentary. So this was a kind of interesting experience before, for me anyway. So it was an interesting way of coming back to independent filmmaking, which and was also fun because of the flexibility and the cooperation. I think that was good, and I enjoyed working with you, Jenny. It was fun.
It was a lot of fun. It definitely was a lot of fun. And I think that's it's a great question, by the way, Morgan. Thanks for asking it. It goes to show, how, I guess, what comes of a collaboration as well. You create friendships, you create, relationships with people that otherwise just wouldn't be there. I'm also wondering, Swati, did you put any requests at all on social media, or did you do it all through connections through Rain Dance and collaborators?
We did all through connections.
All through connections, okay, yeah, which just goes to show power of community, really, doesn't it? I guess.
Exactly. You know, the only request we put initially was to get the stories, which eventually we just got, worked on one story. So yeah, other than that, I remember reaching out and Jenny, do you know anybody?
Know anybody? Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? So that's what was frantically, because our shoot dates were locked, our location was locked. Later on, we changed the location, of course, but that time we had all the deadlines, and we didn't have people. So I was frantically reaching out to people. I even reached out to Elliot, and I'm looking for photographers. Can somebody tell? I'm looking for a sound guy. So there were a lot of back and forth mails, all to the people. So yeah, I think this is how industry does work a lot of times. I've heard from other people say, someone who knows someone who knows someone. So that is why the power of connection is very important.
That's great. And Morgan and everybody else, feel free to use this community and others to tap people up to see if there are, people that you would be interested in collaborating with. I think it's just a kind of, it's a good window of opportunity. And as you say, Swati, it's that sort of word of mouth worthy that perhaps you don't get when you just find somebody on Fiverr or wherever else people look for people.
Yeah.
That's a bad thing. That can be useful, of course, but
yeah, absolutely.